You are listening to Design Your Dream Home with Doug and Steve. Hey, Doug, good morning.
Hey, buddy, good to see you.
How are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
I've been thinking about showers because of all the rain we've had the past 2 weeks. I've been thinking about a shower. How about you?
I've been thinking about showers too, actually. So that maybe we should talk about that today. What do you think?
Exactly. Let's do it.
All right, man.
Awesome. So this is the Design Your Dream House with Doug and Steve. That's Doug. I'm Steve. And today we're going to talk about showers. Give you some pro tips on the design of your shower. So showers, well, I think most of us, many of us, let's just say me, shower every day, twice a day, in the morning and the evening. And given how much time I spend taking a shower and how I really do kick off the day with a shower, you would think that people would spend a little bit more time in the design and implementation of some cool shower concepts. So today we want to talk about designing your shower.
Right on. Very exciting topic. You just wait.
All right, Doug. So this is our format. You give me 3 tips. I give you 3 tips. And we've got one viewer question. And so design your dream home with Doug and Steve. Doug, what is your first shower tip?
So my first tip has to do with the size of a shower. I deal with this issue all the time. I do a lot of high-end residential work, and most of the time we're going to end up putting in a master bathroom. And so the size of a shower is something I deal with not on a day-to-day basis, but a number of times during the year. And it's a really important factor for clients. How big is that shower going to be, and whether or not ultimately we're going to put a bench in it. And we could talk about that a little bit later. So if you Google what is the minimum size of a shower, you'll come up with lots of sites that say it's about 30 inches square. Now, what I like to do is go back to the size of a human being. So let's go to the kitchen for just a second. And when I'm designing a kitchen, in particular a kitchen island, I like to think about how wide a person's going to be and how much room they're going to take up at that island. And what I will typically use for a dimension is approximately 24 inches in width. So if I have a 48-inch island, I can usually fit about 4 people there. Now, that's relatively narrow. And so 24 inches, I really like to see that actually about 27 or 28 inches. If we compare that to a shower and the dimension inside of a shower, that's still pretty small. I mean, another 4, 5, 6 inches to 30 inches, that's an absolute minimum. So when I'm planning a bathroom and a shower in particular, I like to think of that shower stall area being at least 36 inches square. That way you're giving them plenty of room. So I always start with a 36-inch square for the minimum size of a shower.
And that's an inside dimension, a clear dimension.
Yeah, that's a good question. So as architects, when we sit down and we look at the size of the shower, we're really looking at a plan typically. And so that plan dimension, left to right, east to west, north, south, I like to see 36 inches. Now, every shower is going to have most likely a curb in it, right, to keep the water in. If the drain gets full and you have time to shut off the water, that water will raise and it won't go over the curb. A curb's usually 5 or 6 inches in width and the same in height. So that is the interior dimension. Now, many times you're going to have a piece of glass sitting on the curb, usually falls right in the center of that curb. So you're actually getting a little bit more room, but absolute minimum for me planning a nice renovated bathroom, 36 inches interior dimension to the edge of the curb.
You know what I'm finding, Doug, in all these projects that I design is that the tub used to be kind of the first fixture people would want, and now it's shower. Do you find that? Do you find that to be the case?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Many times, I'd say 15 or 20 years ago, I'd see a lot of jacuzzis being installed, but not anymore. We almost see no tubs in master bathrooms anymore, just a big old shower. That's what we will usually plan for.
Okay, good. So that's the first one about size. That's a good tip. For me, my tip has to do with, and I design mostly like you, mostly residential, but more recently I have been doing some some hospitality, meaning hotel, and in hotel and residential, I usually think of being pretty different, but there's an experience that I've had with the hotel that actually has now informed what I do in residential showers. So typically for a shower, we'll make a custom pan, and meaning the pan is usually a copper pan of any dimension. Let's say it's your 36 inches wide, and maybe it's 5 or 6 feet. So it's a good size shower. And it's a custom dimension. So we make a custom pan, and then we'll tile over it, make the curb as you had mentioned, and you have your sort of custom shower size, and that's fine. And the way that the floor works is that we'll typically put the tile on a kind of a pitch so that it pitches to drain. And that's fine. What I've been finding is that you're really relying on people in the field to create that pitch, that perfect pitch. Depending upon the installer, it could be good or bad, but what we always have is grout lines between the different tiles to create that pitch. That grout over time always gets dirty, and it gets harder and harder to clean. And so I said, okay, well, this is just part of it. But with hotel, quite often what they use are prefabricated pans. It means it's potentially acrylic or fiberglass or different materials, but basically you have a one-piece pan that you simply plop onto the shower. Usually a dimension that's either 3x4 or 3x5. It's usually prescribed. So there's some limitation there, but really what's happening is you're taking out that in the field labor, and you have a kind of smooth, pitched pan. It's perfect every time, goes right to drain, and it's much easier to clean with all that grout line. So now I thought, wow, this is really nice. I really like the maintenance view kind of option, and now we're using that in some of our residential applications. I mentioned again that the issue is that you don't really have the possibility for custom sizes. So you're sort of limited by standard sizes, which for the most part has been okay. So it's something to consider. The cost is a little bit less. The maintenance is certainly less. And if you're okay with standard sizes, I would suggest looking at prefabricated shower pans.
Yep. I think that's a great tip. One thing that the consumer needs to keep in mind with those pans is it gets kind of challenging picking them. So you'll go into the book or go online and you'll see a 48 by 48 pan, but you got to be really careful, what side the tile is going to be, because they've got flashing that runs up the wall a few inches. And so you have to make sure the tile is going to be, let's say, on the left side and the back side, and then you've got curb in the front too, or just curb in the very front. So as long as you're careful, contractors careful, owners careful about choosing those, they can be a nice economical option for sure.
Right. And for me, it's about the look. So I really like that clean look on the floor. Okay, Doug, your second tip.
So my second tip has to do probably more with aesthetics, but also a little bit to do with function. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine. When I go to, let's say we're lucky enough to go to a resort, we go to a really nice hotel, you walk in the bathroom, and more times than not, I'm seeing after these bathrooms have been renovated, I'm seeing these 45-degree angles cut into the shower. That drives me absolutely nuts for a couple reasons. I really don't like the look. I think it's kind of unsightly. I'd much rather see 45-degree angles, especially in contemporary architecture. The stuff that we're doing, we really like to see 90-degree angles inside, for the aesthetically for these showers. But it also takes away the space on the interior of the shower. So if I've got a rectangle that's 36 by 36, a square, or 36 by 48, and I introduce a 45-degree angle into that in plan, and then throw a door on it, and typically those doors are going to be pretty narrow, getting in and out, you're really starting to cut down on the space on the inside. So the last thing I'd say about that 45-degree angle is it really indicates to me a lack of thought in terms of design in that space. So many times you've got something on one wall, you've got something on the wall perpendicular to that, and they're squeezing a shower into the corner, and then you cut a 45-degree and put a door on it. So if you're planning a new bathroom, I really like to see square angles on those shower stalls.
You bring a good point. You know what I learned, to go back to this hotel experience, is that in retrofitting a hotel bathroom, let's say typically you'll have maybe a tub and you'll have a toilet and you have a sink, and that's your standard kind of layout. For some hotels, if you're able to add another fixture, meaning if you're able to add a tub and shower, you can actually take that hotel room and sort of upgrade it to something called a luxury collection, meaning a 4-fixture bathroom. You can sort of upgrade the hotel standard. So I guess I'm trying to say that maybe the architect it's not his fault, and maybe he was sort of given a task to try to create a 4th fixture in there to sort of upgrade the qualification or standard of the hotel. So let's say in that instance, maybe it's not his fault or her fault, but I take your point that if you're starting fresh, see if you can figure out a way to avoid the 45-degree angle, which makes it nuts.
Exactly, and if you ever see one, think of me.
Okay. All right, my second tip has to do with storage, and a simple solution because it has to do with niches. When starting fresh, you see these beautiful images with showers, and it's just a shower head, and it's just a nice wall and or stone wall or tile wall, whatever it is, and it looks fantastic, and you think, oh, what a beautiful shower. The reality is that people have all kind of stuff. Maybe I have one shampoo bottle, one thing of soap, and that's pretty much it. My wife has like conditioners and all these different things, and where do you put all these things? There's so many bottles. I'm amazed at how many bottles, and they end up on the floor, or you retrofit some kind of shelf, which always has problems. So I would always recommend a kind of a niche. It can be very shallow. It's only the depth of a bottle and maybe one or two glass shelves, and you've got this sort of a nice way to store away your goods. And I would say about the aftermarket products, the shelves, that and I know this because I have it in my own house, is that typically you're screwing these shelves into a wall, and they're not usually getting wet, but because of the humidity of the shower over time, the screws that you're used to attach in through the porcelain, stone, or whatever, the tile, always rust and then begin to streak. And then you think, okay, let me just take this out and replace it. But because they're rusted, you can't take them out without destroying your tile. I mean, it's just a problem after problem. So I would just tell you from my own experience, and I really could have done it before, but built-in niche, number one, and somehow if there's a way to avoid this sort of aftermarket shower attaching to the wall, I would strongly advise for that. And one other note about the niche, I did design a kind of a very nice bathroom one time with a light that would go in the niche. And when we sort of photographed it, it had some flowers there. It looked fantastic. It was a beautiful kind of serene moment. But the reality, of course, when we took the flowers out and put the bottles in there, and now we're lighting up bottles of shampoo and celebrating something which probably just wants to be quiet and in the dark. So I would just sort of say bypass the lighted niche, forget the expense, and just have a place to put some stuff.
That whole subject of planning for a niche rather than installing a shelf. I mean, that's good advice for hiring somebody that does more than a bathroom once a year. Mm-hmm. Hiring an architect to sit down and really help you plan all the different aspects about that bathroom. So, I mean, or, rushing through it. You sit down with clients and they want the project done so quickly. They want everything done tomorrow. And again, that says a lot about the fact that, people have to really sit down and think about these things. There's so many different parts of a bathroom, and it takes a lot of experience to know how to handle each one of these, tiny details that really do make the space work so much better.
Yep, and I would also give one piece of advice there when meeting a new client, if you can, because they'll show you images of things that they like. Oh, look at this beautiful bathroom I found on Houzz or Pinterest, and you look at it and you think, okay, that's nice. Can I see your bathroom? Not because I want to see, how your style is, but I want to see kind of how you live.
Wow.
And if you see the 50 bottles all over the place, you say, you know what? If you want that image, we're gonna have to create some niches or other kind of storage for you. So I think it's when I mean, they always let me. I said, do you mind if I take a peek? And please don't clean up for me. I just want to kind of see how you live and how we can best achieve what you hope to achieve.
Awesome, great advice, man.
All right, tip 3, Doug. What do you got?
Tip 3 has to do with benches and bathrooms or inside of your shower. So, many times we'll have the luxury when we're planning a shower, the shower is big enough that we can build a bench into the shower. But sometimes we choose not to build it in. Sometimes we're going to place it in there. So there are really 2 ways to do that. Mm-hmm. You build it in, or you buy something and you put it inside your shower. So let's talk a little bit about the materiality of and the reality of making that. So many times what we're going to have to do if we're going to create a shower is we're going to build a bench in, and that bench is going to be stone. It's going to be ceramic tile. Many times the top is stone and you've got ceramic tile on the sides, or it's all stone. The big challenge with a bench made out of that material is it typically gets pretty cold. So that gets us into a whole different subject where we'll talk to the clients about whether or not they want to heat the floor in the bathroom. That sounds crazy, but a lot of our clients do it, and it's very, very comfortable. So you walk in there in the morning, and everybody knows how cold tile is and stone is in the morning. So heating that floor can be done a couple different ways: hydronically, running water through pipes, also electrically with pads. It is expensive. The hydronic option's even more expensive, but typically will last a little bit longer. Anyway, when we do that, we will recommend, hey, if we're going to do a bench inside the shower, let's heat the bench as well. So it's a good suggestion. Sometimes clients don't want to spend the money to do that, but it's very, very nice. Now, if we're not going to build the bench in, we're going to buy a bench and we're going to place it in there. And many times that bench is wood. It's going to be teak. It's going to be mahogany. It's going to be ipe. That's what I have in my shower. So we made the shower large enough that I could get a bench and put it in there. And I did that because I love the look of wood relative to all of this pretty tile. It's, it's white tile, and then you got this wonderful teak bench inside of there. What I will say is that wood always suffers in that environment. So most likely it's going to turn a different color unless it's ipe, and even ipe will get maybe a little darker over time, but it's going to get moldy. So it gets this kind of black mold on it, and you've got to keep it clean. I was running through House the other day just looking at different examples, and I saw that there were a couple examples of people building in wood benches. Unless you can move that bench around and really clean it thoroughly, you're going to get really tired of it. So very, very pretty pictures. It photographs well, but it becomes a problem long term. There was a really funny thing that happened to me with one of our clients. We did a renovation addition. In the addition was a master suite, master bathroom. We walked in, it was under construction. All the framing was up. We looked at the shower stall, and the shower stall, I think, was probably 3.5 feet by 5 feet. It was plenty large, and we're going to build a bench into that. Benches are typically 18 inches deep. So we're looking at it. Everything's framed, and the gentleman looked in there, and he said, the shower part is just too small. Let's make that bench less deep. And I turned to him and I said, it's not a very good idea. And she said, I only really need the bench to put my foot up when I'm shaving. And that's really what most women use the bench for. They're not sitting in, unless you've got a steam shower, which is a great idea, a little expensive. You're using it to shave. So I said, well, look, if you don't think you're going to be sitting in there, and I knew they would be because we got a steam shower for him. He said, no, 1 foot's, totally deep enough. So we built the thing and we tiled it and stoned and everything. And when we were all done, after a week or two, I remember seeing him at a dinner party, and she walked up to me and she said, that was the worst decision we ever made, was made that bench only 1 foot deep instead of a full 18 inches. It's something that's not comfortable. It's a problem. We love the addition. I'm so sorry we didn't listen to your advice. So I would say if you're going to put a bench in there, 18 inches in depth. And the last thing I'll say is when we get back to this 45-degree angle thing, I was again looking at some pictures on House, and they're showing these, 45-degree angle, tiny little benches that are only a foot deep in the center, and then they get real narrow toward the ends. Those things are really uncomfortable. So if they're purely functional in terms of shaving one's legs, it's really not something that is going to be very comfortable. And I would hesitate to say it's a good idea to build something like that in. I'd rather see you buy something and set it in the shower. So
let me get this straight. So the worst decision this couple has ever made in their lives is having the bench 12 inches as opposed to 17 inches.
Thanks, Stephen.
So we go with the dimension. So we're talking about what is the depth? 17 inches, 16 inches, something like that?
18 inches in depth for
18 shower. Inches. And what about the height off the floor?
18 inches as well. So just like a chair, you're typically 18. Yep.
All right. So my third tip has to do with something I've encountered with developers that don't want to spend a lot of money on a shower. And typically we can use ceramic tile or porcelain tile for the surrounds of the shower. And, these are $4, $5, $6 per square foot. These are not the most expensive tiles. And what I've tried to do now is pick a wall, one of the walls, and typically a feature wall, the kind of longer wall of the shower, and pick a tile that has some texture to it, some three-dimensionality to it. And if we put the light up on the light overhead and we're able to rake that wall from a few feet, you look at that wall, it actually looks like pretty precious material, like a stone with a kind of a texture to it, something like that. and they have been pretty, amenable to that. So without a lot of money, one wall with a little three-dimensionality to it has really been a lot of bang for the buck. So one recommendation then, definitely look at texture walls, walls that have some three-dimensionality to it to create a kind of a raked effect. Now, I would say that you do want to, if you can, pick walls that are not the ones that are getting the most water on them, because with all that three-dimensionality, you do create more places for dirt and grime and all of those things, and more cleaning, while ceramic tile is pretty resistant to dirt and grime, and you will have to take care of it. So when you have a scenario where, let's say, water is coming sort of in the middle and you have a feature wall to the back or to the side, and you have a chance to put a wall with some three-dimensionality to it, I would highly recommend that. A simple one, not an expensive idea, but definitely something to give your shower a little pop.
Sounds beautiful.
Okay, sounds good. Glad you like that. A simple one for you.
Love it.
All right, Doug. So you know what? Every once in a while for these episodes, we do talk about a product spotlight. I found something I thought was kind of neat. I wanted to share with you.
Sweet.
It is called a loop. They call it the loop, and it is by Dornbracht, which is a very high-end plumbing fixture maker. And this is an exterior shower. It basically looks like sort of a banana, which has been sort of connected on top and bottom. But basically, it's white acrylic that kind of loops around. That's the name loop. And really have little shower holes on all sides of this loop. And on the bottom, you have you have a seat, and you can sit on that seat, and really you're able to sort of turn on the shower, and you're getting water in every direction. I think it's really kind of a sunbathing thing, right? You're outside on your on your terrace in Miami Beach or Miami or wherever. You're very wealthy to have this shower, but you're outside, you get the wind, and you get a little bit of water on you. I can imagine it being quite a luxurious experience. So the loop by Dornbracht.
It looks amazing, but there's no privacy whatsoever, right? So you take your clothes off and you sit in your loop, and everybody's driving by and just digging the view, I guess, right?
It's one of those kind of, the sexy things, right? It's you don't care. You like to be out in the outside.
Everybody's doing it. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's doing their loop.
So that's our product spotlight for this time.
Sweet.
Hey, Doug, I also want to move on to questions, because we do have someone who emailed a question. I thought it was a pretty good question. And of course, every episode we love to answer questions, so please write or email. Okay, hi, Doug and Steve. I'm in the process of renovating my bathroom. I'm wondering if we should create a soffit. A soffit is a bit of wall over top, over our shower door, so that the shower is fully enclosed, or have it open on the top. What are your thoughts?
Wow, well, that's a really tough question. It is definitely something we deal with. I will say that most of the work we do when we're going to be doing a contemporary master bath, we don't like to see soffits, which kind of break up the space. I would say that if we are going to build a soffit in there, it's probably because we don't want the glass to go all the way to the ceiling, or we want to create a space that's probably a little warmer. We're probably also, as the soffit gets lower, we're getting the source of light closer to the body, which makes sense. So I would say, in that case, I'd love to see an image of the bathroom, but I don't know. It's totally their call. How about you? I mean, you must have some experience with doing these.
I would say, if it's a contemporary bathroom, you want the space to feel as open and connected as possible, not have a separate shower room. I'd rather not have the shower wall, the soffit, and have that ceiling continuous. And really then the shower is part of the larger bathroom or larger part of the room. I mean, that's when I would like to do that. If the idea is to make a room which is warmer, stays, let's say the steam wants to stay in that space, then obviously having that soffit is an option. Now, of course, the glass can go up to the ceiling, but given a 9-foot bathroom, let's say, that's an expensive piece of glass. So you have to kind of weigh the sort of price, I guess, of the cost implications on that. But typically, if I can, I'd like to not have that soffit, make the space read and feel like one space, shower in that space. By the way, one little side benefit of that is that you really can have less light fixtures or fans in the ceiling if you don't have that soffit. If you've got the soffit, you basically need to have a light in that shower stall and its own separate fan, I would say, and then a light outside that room and also a fan outside that room. So with no soffit, you can really get away with one light, say, in the center of the room, or one fan in the center of the room. So if that's, again, a cost consideration? That's one way to sort of eliminate the need for one extra light or one extra fan.
I think that's good advice, although I will say almost every shower we've done, regardless of how tall that glass is or whether or not we put a soffit in, we almost always have one light in the shower just to illuminate that space. People really do like to have some light in the shower. So, if they've got the money, definitely add a light there.
Yep, I agree with you. Okay, Doug. So let's wrap up this podcast on showers. Again, I'm Steve. That's Doug. This is Design Your Dream Home with Doug and Steve. Doug, any last comments about showers? Any last tips? Last thoughts?
No, I think we've. It's interesting about showers. You really could go on and on forever. I was thinking about all the different stuff that we put in a shower, all the fittings and fixtures in a bathroom, and so this is definitely to be continued. Lots more to talk about.
Well, Doug, I always enjoy your insight about house design and home design and showers in particular. And so next time, we're going to talk about what?
Showers. Just kidding. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about roofing material or something like that. I think that's a cool one, actually. There's so many choices.
Exactly right. Hey, so you've been listening to Design Your Dream Home with Doug and Steve. We will be back next week. We're going to talk about roofs.
I look forward to it.
A little more enthusiasm, Doug. All right, see you next time.
All right, see ya.